United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
They have.
Yeah, why don't you use the mic?
Turn it over to you.
All right, thank you very much, Sonny. All right, welcome, folks. So here tonight, we begin the process of vetting out the FY26 budget for the town of Mechanic Falls. In the audience this evening, we have department heads. Lisa Prevost off to my side here. And of course, we have our newly minted budget committee members, Connor Sheehy and Taylor Donato. Donato? Thank you. I'm going to butcher that so many times. I'm just going to say Taylor. And of course, our council members, Paula Stott, Walter Berry, and Sonny Morgan. And with your permissions from everybody, here's how I would like to do this, pretty much as we've done in prior years. So I will do a couple of preambles, and then we'll dive right into the budget. We'll start with a summary page, and then we'll do revenues in the various departments. We'll take a couple of the departments out of order. Chris wants to try to retire a little early tonight and get some well-deserved rest. So we will let him do that. But it all begins, as I've done each year, with the budget letter. And some of you have already seen this. I've given everybody, for department heads do not have the revised budget letter. And for those on the internet, don't have anybody joining us, but anybody watching this post, I will read the FY26 budget letter that I've sent out to the town council, to the budget committee, staff, and citizens. And it goes like this. First, I want once again to extend a big thank you to Lisa Prevost for her invaluable assistance in the creation of this proposed FY26 budget. Round of applause for Lisa. And you, Lisa. All right. Where are we? Second, I would also like to thank all of the department heads for working with us and taking the time to comb through this budget line by line. As many of you know, creating a municipal budget is indeed a balancing act of providing necessary town services weighed against the ability of the taxpayer to afford those services. In the end, while no budget is perfect, I hope you'll agree that all involved gave a good faith effort to achieve a livable balance. The FY26 budget journey begins with a few important themes to keep in mind, and they are as follows. 1, surplus. FY26 will see a substantial increase in available surplus dollars. This year's number is $464,000, up from $178,000. We continue to see a feast-famine scenario with the year-to-year surplus number. 2, FY26 main state revenue sharing. Great news. We are on course to receive an increase of $162,461 from our share of the main state revenue sharing. And that's huge to this town. More later. Number 3, the 5-year capital improvement plan. Our rolling 5-year capital improvement plan has been updated. This FY26 budget lays out a plan to pay for major capital assets with cash while saving monies for future capital purchases, all without the use of debt and unwanted interest payments. 4, employees. They are the soul of our operation with this FY26 budget. I should say, and this FY26 budget continues the quest to keep good people with a 4% COLA for non-contracted staff along with ongoing wage adjustments. As of the revised writing of this letter, on the expense side, the overall general fund budget for FY26 is up by 5%, with 4 budgets less than the current year. On the revenue side, we continue to forecast with a conservative eye. We estimate FY26 total revenues to be a little over $1.8 million. This includes all estimated state and local revenue sources. Updated revisions, of course, may make this number increase or decrease. This presented FY26 budget has a decrease. I'm going to say that again. This presented FY26 budget has a decrease of $61,131 in the net to be raised calculation from the current year. Yes. And I'll share a little bit more on that in a couple of minutes. A reminder to all, it is normal and commonplace for some of these presented numbers to change. As a part of the budget process, better and updated information can result in a line item number change as well as further direction from the council or budget committee. We will do our best to keep everyone informed and up to date with the latest and greatest information. I look forward to working with you on completing the Town of Mechanic Falls FY26 budget. And those following along in their budget books, the next page is a summary of the schedule for the meetings. I want to direct everybody's attention now to the budget summary page. And so so everybody will understand, what I'm going to do is I'm going to, as we get involved in the revenues and the expense budgets, I'm going to roll through the budgets line by line. And if anybody has any questions, feel free to stop us. The department heads are here tonight to answer any and all questions that you may have about their particular budgets. This will be the only night that the department heads will be here unless specifically requested in the future. Our goal is to educate everybody tonight, to meet back here on Monday, the 24th, to finish answering questions if you guys are ready, and possibly vote out the budget, or to continue with more questions and answers. So the summary page is just that. So I'm going to start at the top, and I will tick down through here, and you'll get a quick feel for FY26 with this single page. The boards and council budget. The proposed budget is $13,798, an increase of $229. Legal services budget proposed $10,000, which is a $2,000 decrease. Municipal complex, $127,448, is $1,324 less than the current budget. Town clerk elections, $130,886, an increase of $8,400. Administration, $172,559, an increase of $7,179. Utilities, $159,325 proposed. That's a decrease of $1,605. Code enforcement planning, $71,684. That's an increase of $3,085. Library, $45,323 proposed. That's an increase of $4,033. Social services welfare, $16,150. That's an increase of $8,650. What? I can deal with that now or later. Your pleasure. You want to deal with it now? I'll, yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah. There's a few stories in this budget. Actually, since we're paused, I'll take a swig. No, it's not liquor. Yeah. All right, let me find my place here. Where are we? Social services, assessor, $29,750, an increase of $1,500. The auditor, $14,000 proposed, an increase of $3,500. Contingency, the normal $10,000. Debt service, $118,962. Pensions insurance, $592,111. That's an increase of $59,838. Animal control, $11,225. Fire department, $193,053. That's an increase of $10,120. Police department, $593,474. That's an increase of $39,825. Public Works, $491,728. That's a decrease of $8,093. Transfer station, $147,908. That's an increase of $6,956. Now, in the bottom section, we start to get to the major categories of our spending and our receivables. The first line where it says general fund, if you carry that all the way over. So the general fund proposed budget for FY26 is $2,949,384. That's an increase of $140,293. That means the operational budget of this for FY26 is $140,293 more than the current budget. So our expenses did indeed go up. County tax. County tax is $310,485. That's an increase of $27,510. The reserves budget, $791,000. That's an increase of $286,000. Total expenditures for the town, 4,000, that includes county, by the way, $4,050,869, an overall increase of $453,803. Applied revenues, which we'll talk more detail in a minute. We'll see an increase in applied revenues. The estimate currently stands at $1,816,004, which is an increase of $228,934. Applied fund balance. This is our famed surplus number. The current year, again, 464,000, which is an increase from the current year of 286,000. So when you do all the pluses and all the minusing from our expenses and our revenues, we are showing a net to be raised, that bottom figure in green. The net change is minus $61,131. And so that way the home gamers can get a feel for this. So the way I always try to equate things to a mill rate. If this budget were to stand all the way through June, and that means that for two of the three legs of what your tax bill represents, municipal, county, schools to be decided. But this budget here, this piece of paper, includes both municipal and county. And so if I tell you that rough numbers, the town of Mechanic Falls has a valuation of $300 million, that means $1 of spending to the mill rate is 300,000. So if you take 10 cents of 300,000, that's 30,000. So quick slide rule, rough paper napkin math shows you that to be below 61,000 would be a net decrease to the current mill rate of 20 cents. Folks, that's pretty well unheard of. Seriously. Seriously. This is a great story. It's not just a good story. It's a great story. We're looking to apply close to $800,000 in capital expenditures and reserve accounts. We're looking to give employees a 4% pay raise. We're looking to have our operational budgets funded, all to the tune of minus $61,000. I'm sure you'll have questions as we go through the budget, but I hope you see that it doesn't get much better than this. Unless there's any questions, I will move on. Estimated revenues. I'll only tackle the lines that have the changes, and you can look at all of the zero lines later. So auto excise. So when you come in to register your vehicle, the town gets to keep the money. So as I always say, tongue in cheek, but with a little seriousness, everybody please go buy a brand new car if you want to help your town. So we have, over the last few years, we have seen a slight tick up in receipts for auto excise. So we have increased it to 550,000 from 525,000, which is a $25,000 increase for FY26. The agent's fee increases by $250. The snowmobile agent fee increases by $300. Scrolling down through, this is a big one. Cash management interest increases by $20,000 from 50 to 70. The real estate interest takes a little bit of a hit based on what we're seeing from 16 to 12. So it's minus 4,000. Lien costs increased by 500. Transfer station stickers, we're decreasing that by 250. Ticking on down through, building permits. People seem to be building in the town, getting permits. Thank you, Thomas. That's good. We increased that by 1,500. Hunting, fishing agent fee, we decreased that by 50. Ticking down through, marriage licenses increased by 50. Liquor licenses decreased by 50. Marriage certificate increases by 100. Burial permit increases by 100. Additional certified copies increased by 100. Ticking down through, fireworks permit decreases by 150. And where am I? Court fees increased by 50. Special amusement fees decreased by 50. Cable franchise fee decreases by 3,000. Transfer station fee increases by 500. Next page. Marijuana fee increases by 1,500. Dogs increases by 50. Municipal gym rental, we're phasing out of that, so we took the 250 off of that. The cell tower rent increases by 1,200. Head Start decreases by 1,800. Transfer station roll-off decreases, if I'm reading that right, by 1,800, 1,827. Insurance reimbursements increased by 1,000. Ticking on down, we have Betty, which increases by 14,000. Highway block grant increases by 2,000. Revenue sharing, again, the big kahuna, as you could see, increases by $162,461. I'm sorry? No, we're sure that's what the state projects. See, the way that this thing works is that the state of Maine does annual projections. And so the actual number that we get is totally dependent upon sales tax revenue in that moment in time. And so in order to make the numbers work, we use the Maine state revenue sharing monies. And if they're over, great. If they're under, boo. But remember, we budget conservatively on all the line items. So there is a little give and take through this sausage making, if you will. Welfare reimbursement, and that will feed into your future question, Paula, increases by 7,500. And what else? I think that's about it, right? So basically, we increase our estimated revenues by $228,938. And remember, I said on the summary page, our spending, our operational budget spending increased around 140,000. So this 228,000 that we're getting in extra revenue chews that up. And plus, if you factor in the $27,000 increase for the county, when you do the addition and the subtraction, that's where you get the minus 61,000 from. And now I'll go into the budget. And again, feel free to stop me any line that you have a question on. Boards and council. Proposed budget, $13,798. Salaries for the council members, planning board, and appeals board. Other personnel, well, it says other personnel costs, but really it's contributions that we give to the snowmobile club, the ATV club, and the cemetery. And that stays at 1,500. Subscriptions, 4,100 for Maine Municipal Association annual dues, 3,690 for Androscoggin Valley Council of Governments annual dues, 250 for the Oxford Hills Chamber of Commerce, $550 on the boards and council budget for training travel, and $200 for various office supplies. So that is that budget, which is an increase overall of $229. Now, actually, we'll do, sure.
And those are the dues that we paid.
So this is, I guess, normal standard operating procedure on how we budget for the planning board. Yes. You can't spend any money from this budget on office supplies if that happens. So again, actually, it's a good part to say, as I often say to department heads, when we're creating these budgets, I wholly expect that certain line items are going to go over the budgeted amount, and certain line items will be under the budgeted amount. What we look at and what the citizens vote on in the article is the overall number. In this case, $13,798. So as long as we aim to stay under $13,798, the pie here can be sliced however. But again, this is a good faith effort in trying to create that pie with whatever spending that we feel is reasonable and we'll probably have to do. Um, I'm going to skip to Chris's budget. And so Chris's budget is the Public Works to budget, which is in the back end, back half somewhere of your packet. So again, I'll tick right down through the lines. Feel free to stop me if you wish. I'll ask again for questions at the end of the budget. Public Works budget is a proposed budget for FY26 of $491,728, which is a decrease of $8,093. So for salaries, we have the director at 62.4, equipment operators 1, 2, and 3 at 47,528, 45,760, and 42,786. There's the standard $30,000 budgeted for overtime and $3,464 for plowing the sidewalks and other part-time winter use. And then $7,325 for part-time summer staff doing mowing and different things. Other personnel costs, $2,100, has $500 for mandatory drug and alcohol testing, $1,600 for uniform allowance, office supplies, $650, which has $150 miscellaneous and $500 for water. Got to make sure the boys have water. Communications, $840 for cell phone. Operating supplies, $140,750, and that includes $5,500 for patch, $6,500 for culverts, $17,250 for winter sand, $85,000 for salt, $4,800 for gravel, $2,500 for highway paint, $6,000 for cutting edges, $2,000 for small tools, $1,500 for signs and posts, $1,200 for welding supplies, $3,500 for brooms, brushes, whatnot, and $5,000 miscellaneous items. Advertising, you never know, once in a blue moon, $225. You need to do the posting, $125 spring road posting signs, and $100 for bump signs, $7,100 in repair lines for $3,500 of that for radios and mower tractor parts, $600 for waste oil, heater cleaning, $2,000 for batteries, $1,000 for electrical wiring, etc. Training travel, $900, $400 for local road classes, and $500 for education for the new director. Chris is going to spring in May He's going to take MOD management courses, and we're looking forward to that. Motor vehicle, $65,700, of which $23,600 is for diesel, $6,000 for gas, $6,000 for oil, $4,100 for filters, $25,000 for any expenses related to maintenance care, $1,000 for diesel exhaust fluid. Flipping the page. For contracted services, that line is 22,000, which is made up with $5,500 for a sweeping contractor for a sweeper, $5,000 for equipment rental, $3,000 for engineering services, $4,500 for tree maintenance, and $4,000 for road striping. Minor capital, $12,200, $2,000 for cones, $1,200 for veteran flags, $4,000 for graveling for shoulder work, $3,000 for 50-ton press, and $2,000 for replacement poles for the American flags. All that again totals out to $491,728, which is a little bit better than $8,000 decrease in that budget. Any Pine Tree Engineering, with our road plan. As a matter of fact, tomorrow morning at 10 a.m., we're having our bid opening. So the contracting work for year to year, depending upon what it is that we're doing, like we just had some crosswalk engineering done. Hope to have that project done later this spring. So we have a standard line here for engineering services. And if we end up spending more than this, then we can take the excess from the roads line. It's all about, again, engineering, using Rob Prue's services to help guide and direct us with our road plan. Any other questions?
For the motor vehicles, it's obviously nice that the budget's going down for that, but is the cost for the gallons, is that locked in at a contract rate, or does that tend to be a moving target throughout the year?
So great question. Very good question. So here's our dilemma. So good news, we don't pay tax on, like you go gas up, you're paying a tax. So for certain fuels, we don't pay tax on. That's the good news. But our challenge is this. We try to say to ourselves, do we know what the price of fuel is going to be in June of 2027? Because this budget covers this July 1 through next June. So we don't know what the price of fuel is going to be. So we go about this in a conservative fashion. We hope, quite frankly, that we're overshooting. And if we overshoot, remember, any leftover dollars drain down in the town's undesignated fund balance. So it goes to the town's piggy bank. Because as always, it's the town's money, right? And so we try to budget, just like we budget conservatively with revenues, we try to budget with a realistic to slightly inflated in these areas that we really have no control of and we don't know. So we've actually, over the last 2 years, have come down each year in what we set aside for cost per gallon. So I hope that goes a long way to answering your question.
Just want to make sure we have enough budgeted for them.
Yeah,
basically.
yeah. Any other questions? All right, Chris, I guess you're off the hook, buddy. Excellent job, Chris. All right. All right, let's go back to the beginning here. Legal. Go for it. Right. So again, we're taking our crystal ball and looking at the future. In order to do that, part of what we do is look at the past and the present. So presently, on average, I would say we've been, what, a couple $100 a month at most?
We spent $1,000 out of this line in the current year budget, and it's been running, yeah, maybe $100. Although the last one I paid was like $46.
So we are comfortable taking what was essentially 2 years ago, it was at 15,000. Then in the current year, we reduced it from 15 to 12, which is $1,000 a month. So if I was seeing something that gave me an average of $800 a month or so, then I probably wouldn't have decreased it. And so, and I know your next question, you want to ask it or do you want me to just answer it?
Things going on with the codes department and potentially having to get litigating involved. That's my concern.
Right. And I think that's a good concern. So the capital expenditure reserve budget, if you remember from our capital improvement meeting, has a set aside of, I believe it's $20,000 going off the top of my head. So that $20,000 for court actions, in my mind, can include anything from paying the attorney to paying somebody to go at some property with a bulldozer or call in Service Master Clean or whatever the heck it is that the town needs to do. It's just kind of like a bucket of money that goes along with court actions. So if you take that 20,000 along with the current 10,000, that gives you in essence a bucket of $30,000. Based on what we're seeing with the current legal fees that the town is enduring. And again, it can ebb and flow. It can change tomorrow. I mean, we could have a barn burn or something happen and all of a sudden we're spending a lot of money on fees again. I don't see that happening. I mean, we might get a curveball, but I'm comfortable in the fact that we have the $10,000 in the operational budget for day-to-day law enforcement. I mean, legal advice. And we also have the catch-all of the 20,000 if need be. And in my research, because it's a good question, Paula, in my research for determining how much it's going to cost to take somebody to court, Kristen responded, I gave her a couple of scenarios. She gave me a couple of scenarios back. So it's far less than I was thinking. We're looking at probably if it's just just taking somebody to court and getting a judgment and it's that simple, then it's probably around a couple $1,000s. If there's some sort of trial that goes along with that, then it's probably around $4,000, which is honestly far cheaper than I was expecting. And so I'm comfortable that we do this. And if we find sitting here a year from now that Vic faux pod, you're more than welcome to slap my hand and we can increase the budget. But I'm comfortable knowing what we know today and looking ahead. I'm comfortable with this as an opener. Okay. Any other questions on legal? All right, next one up, municipal complex. So municipal complex proposed budget is $127,448, which is a decrease of $1,324. Salaries, we have the janitor at $10,496. We have communications at $13,600, which breaks down as $1,800 for Spectrum phone and internet at the transfer station. Our new phone system, Univerge, consolidated communications where we get our internet and POTS line from for $4,000. Currently, we continue to pay $0 for a web page annual fee. That will probably change. I have to look at the contract. Somewhere in the next couple of years, that will change. We will have a number there. But for those that were part of the deal that we did in the conversion with the new website, we did a deal with them that gave us a couple of years free. And so that's good for the town. But in years to come, there will be a number there. Microsoft 365, we used a round number of 3,000, which is pretty darn close. Utilities, $21,238 includes $19,000 for Central Maine Power, $1,230 for the Water Department, which breaks down further as it's stated there. $1,008 for the Sanitary District for utilities. Office supplies of $1,750, $1,500 miscellaneous shared by departments, $250 for American flags. Operating supplies of $40,525, which includes $34,200 for heating oil. And Connor, that again, that same conversation. $825 for propane, $1,500 for gas, diesel, $4,000 janitorial supplies. Repairs, $5,000 minor repairs for maintenance. Contracted services, $34,839, includes $12,530 for annual accounting software, $1,120 for photocopier maintenance, $1,500 for annual elevator maintenance, $1,400 for fire extinguisher inspection, $2,000 for underground fuel storage tank inspection and certification, $325 for annual system inspection for sprinklers, $700 for annual fire alarm inspection, $1,500 for annual cleaning and maintenance of the boilers, $850 for annual generator inspection and maintenance, $9,375 for contracted services of 100 hours at $93.75 with Advanced Microsystems. So we're saving money on this line because we're doing their contracted by the hours instead of doing the open rate. Don't quote me, but I think the last time we were using the open rate was a couple of years ago, and it was like around $130 an hour. So we're paying a lot less than that. $2,664 for monthly charge for CloudCare antivirus, $200 for chemical inventory reporting, and $675 for water coolers. And that is the municipal complex budget. Any questions? Hearing none, seeing none, we will move on. Town clerk elections, $130,886 proposed. That's an increase of $8,400. Salaries of $51,948 for the town clerk, $42,328 for the deputy clerk, $3,165 for overtime. Other personnel costs to run the elections and everything, around $2,700. $760 for subscriptions, including, as you see there, $60 for Maine Town Clerks Association dues, $60 Maine Treasurers and Tax Collector Association dues, $475 newspapers, $20 MMA directory, $150 for NADA appraisal guide, motorcycles, recreational vehicle booklet. Office supplies, $5,000 for miscellaneous supplies. Operating supplies, $6,035, which mostly breaks out to postage at $6,000 and $35 for the famed BJ's membership. Advertising, $300 because you never know. $100 for repairs, various small repairs. $1,500 training travel. $16,800 for contracted services, which includes $6,000 for a payroll service, $4,000 for registry of deeds, $700 for postage, meter, machine rental and supplies, $2,500 for printing the town report, $900 for ballot printing, $450 for programming of voting machines, $250 for Zoom meetings, and $2,000 for election machine lease. Minor SIP, $250 for a piece of office equipment to be named later. Any questions? Yeah, so in Janice's world, I think everything pretty much is new except you want a printer, right? All right, administration, $172,559 proposed. That's an increase of $7,179. $95,000 for yours truly, $70,284 for finance director, $2,500 for agreed manager's expense, $600 for employee luncheon. Subscriptions of $575 includes $185 for the MTCMA membership, $60 for the MTC and TA membership. $30 for Maine Town and Clerks Association membership, and $300 for Adobe and remote PC. $2,300 for training travel, $1,500 is tuition and travel, and $800 for tuition for finance director. Nothing for contracted services, communications, $1,300 for cell phone. And that totals out the administration budget. Any questions? Utilities, $159,325. That's a decrease of $1,605. Subscriptions of $2,500 is the annual administrative fee for the Lewiston Auburn Pollution Control Authority. Utilities, $154,675, a little bit better than $102,000 for the water department, $47,300 for the sanitary district, $5,000 for CMP. And this is where we have some savings. We continue, again, we're conservative in all matters. And so once we did the conversion of the streetlights to LED, we've slowly been decreasing the expenses over the last 2 to 3 years. And right now, on average, we're seeing the bills that kind of top out. They're somewhere in the $200 to $300 neighborhood. So I'm comfortable with $5,000, and that $5,000 also includes a couple of other things as well. So we're comfortable with that. For repairs, $4,400 includes $1,500 service charges to repair traffic signals, $2,900 for our ongoing real-term LED streetlight maintenance program. Any questions on utilities? Hearing none, seeing none. Code enforcement. Proposed budget of $71,684 and is an increase of $3,085. Salaries, $66,332. Overtime at $498. Uniform allowance at $300. Subscriptions at $419, which include $250 for Adobe, $50 for annual membership, and $119 as an annual APA member. $100 for various office supplies, $300 for possible advertising, $2,000 for training and travel, $1,195 for contracted services. So annually, when I walked through the door, Paula, you'll remember that we did a deal with General Code. And so it has an ongoing annual service maintenance, and that's what that is. Communications, $540 for Sal. Mr. Thomas, okay, so maybe I didn't share. If I didn't share, my apologies. So Thomas is fully certified. As a matter of fact, he passed all of his certifications that was on his contract with us sooner, quicker, with his cape on than Superman and then Ryan. He beat Ryan. So Thomas is certified. Some days he's certifiable, but certified. Any other questions on code? All right, moving on to library. Proposed budget of $45,323 is an increase of $4,033. Salaries of $27,962. And for those that haven't heard, Nancy, do you want to share the news?
And Michelle is going to take over for me.
Yay.
Found someone for Saturdays and cover Michelle's hours. Awesome. Busting along. Congratulations to both of you. And you're not allowed to run your temple. You keep it away, man. No.
So the library has a proposed budget of $45,323. Like I said, was an increase of $4,033. The salaries are $27,962. Subscriptions $1,711, which breaks down $1,000 for programming, $400 for the cloud library book service, $200 for Publishers Weekly, and $111 for interlibrary loan fee. Office supplies $600. Operating supplies, $14,700, which breaks out to $14,300 for new book purchases and $400 for programming supplies. Training travel at $350 concludes their budget. Any questions? Hearing none, seeing none, we'll move on to the famed social services welfare budget. So we've had this budget consistently at $7,500. So Paula has the right question. Why the increase to $16,150? I will answer those questions now. So we're creating, first off, we're creating a brand new line and we're going to fund it with $500. That's for a stipend to cover for me while I'm away on vacation. And so Michelle, for the last, well, since I've been here, has been gracious enough to help fill in while I've been away on vacation. And because of what I'm going to tell you next, I feel that we really need to show Michelle some love because the workload will maybe consistently get, there will be an increase in workload. And so there's $500. So it is one of the things I like the least about what I do. And it's a double-edged sword because I like it the least. I'm sure nobody else is going to love it. And it takes a rare bird to find somebody who has a passion and wants to do this. And so because of that, I'll continue to do it. If I have an employee at some point in time that I think has a passion, you betcha, I will pass it off. But this, because of what I believe to be increased workload, we're at a point where we need to pay somebody to cover. And so the deal that I made with Michelle is that we'll give her $100 a week for stipend when she fills in for me. Okay. So $500. The other $15,500, the big part is the $15,000. So, and this is difficult for me. Staff knows how I feel about this. So I'll try to be fair. Okay. So, we now have a recovery home in town. I don't like for the town of Mechanic Falls that we have a recovery home in town because it's going to cost the town of Mechanic Falls money. And based on, trust you me, I'm fighting tooth and nail to not have Mechanic Falls have any more increased expense than necessary. And so the way that it works today, stay tuned, I bet it will change soon, is that if somebody from a different community is going to come to the recovery home, the way that the newest rules have been written for general assistance with the Maine state legislature is that the sending, as I say, my terminology, the sending community is responsible. If, however, we get people that have been homeless for more than a year, then it will be our responsibility. And based on the numbers that we have done recently, I don't know if making it $15,000 from $7,500 is too high, too low. All I know is that we are, whatever people qualify for, the town does not have a choice. We need to, by state statute, we need to give that person what they're entitled to. Now back to the revenue side. On the back end, the state of Maine reimburses the town 70%. It would be nice if they reimbursed us 100%. If they reimbursed us 100%, bring them on in. I don't care. But the town didn't get a say in whether or not they wanted to spend 30% ongoing to have this recovery home here. So only from the financial part of view. And some people can say I'm heartless. Actually, I'm not. But I'm always looking out for the town's best interest when it comes to the dollar. And this is an added expense to the town had no say in. And so maybe the rules will change and the state will graciously pay 100%. I don't know. But for right now, I feel this is the safest course of action to increase it to 15,000. A lot of communities, a lot of cities, I've talked to a lot of general assistants, administrators, and other town managers, and some of these cities it's through the roof. And so we're doing what we can, and I'm learning as I go, because quite frankly, this is a brand new curveball in my world. Well, they got an occupancy license in December. Yes, we have written checks to people who have gone there. Yes. And that's my concern. What's that? I don't remember off the top of my head. If I said something like 14 beds, I'm probably circling the drain. I don't remember exactly. But so do know that every time somebody calls me, my first question is, where are you coming from? And so if I can pawn them off to some other town, I will. And the state knows this. I've had serious, heavy discussions with the state of Maine on this. And I said, if you tell me different, you tell me I got to get in line, I got to do it this way, then I'll do it that way. But until you tell me that, this is how I am doing it. If they're from a different community, I'm sending that person to that community and they can apply for general assistance through that community. For over a year. Right. Yeah. Yeah. But it's not written that plainly. You have, trust me. But yeah, so that's why the increase. And the administrator for the Santa program, which is also Michelle, $550 here. So this budget goes from the 75 to the 16,150. And we'll look each other in the eye a year from now. And maybe we ease that back. Maybe we have to make it 30,000. I don't know yet. So we would cross that bridge when we get to it. And so we have options. The only option we don't have is we must pay. We don't have an option to pay or not to pay. If somebody qualifies for general assistance, they qualify and they deserve, and we need to spend the money. So they can, if somebody is successful and getting something from general assistance, they can apply 30 days later. If I deny somebody for a reason, generally speaking, they have to wait another 120 days to reapply. But for those that get an initial 30-day something, I put conditions on them if they want to come back for a second bite at the apple. And the state of Maine sets up the mousetrap that way, so it's much more difficult the second time around. And since I've been here, I don't think I've ever had somebody have a second bite at the apple. A couple of times came close, but all right. Any other questions on all that? Yeah.
I think there's a variance on that top section. That adds up to 600 instead of 500.
Touche.
Does that carry to the bottom line amount too?
We're running the numbers now. Good catch. Good catch, Connor. I hate to do this to you all. May I, with your permission, go get some more water? Because I'm doing a lot of talking. All right, any other questions on social services welfare? Moving on. The assessor. So each year, a couple of weeks before Christmas, I reach out to O'Donnell's and I say, what say ye for the next year? And they send me back their information. And so we have overall a $1,500 increase for contracted services with O'Donnell's and for the printing and mailing of the tax bills. Now, I'm sure some of you would rather we not print and mail out tax bills, but unfortunately, the state of Maine would say you still owe the tax. Any questions on that? Or I should say the number, shouldn't I? $29,750 is the proposed amount. $28,500 is for John O'Donnell Associates, and the $1,250 is for the printing and mailing of the bills. Auditor. So I think Lisa would agree with this. For the last 2 years, we've received little curveballs, little extra bills from our auditor. And so to get out in front of it, we decided to up it from $10,500 to $14,000. In this day and age, most towns are crying and clamoring for an auditor. And by Maine state statute, we're supposed to have an audit each and every year. So we are fortunate to have an auditor. We have one of the mainstays in the state of Maine and New Hampshire, for that matter, as our auditor, R.H.R. Smith. And so we're budgeting 14,000. It may come in at the end of the day more like 13,000, but we've received ongoing curveballs with it, so we're getting out in front of it a little bit. Questions? Contingency. This town has had a habit since I've been here of setting aside $10,000 for what if, which plays into a couple of Paula's questions from a few minutes ago. That could be one of the possible solutions of what ifs. So unless there's a question there, we'll move on to debt service. Great news. FY26 will be the end of the debt payments for the town of Mechanic Falls. Year 5 of 5 for the road bond, which will be roughly $106,300. And the last year's payment on the excavator, $12,662. So so again, eyes wide open for everybody to know. So next year at this time, I'm going to be looking to take $100,000 and apply that to the capital and reserves budget. Okay. So just know that that's going to be in my planning for next year. Pensions and insurances. Do you want to do this one, Lisa? Go for it.
Okay, so pensions and insurances, we're looking at $592,111 budgeted or proposed for this year. That's an increase of $59,838 over last year. We have a health insurance plan through Northern Benefits. And the town also funds an HRA to help our employees with the deductible. That plan runs on a calendar year where our budget runs on a fiscal year. So I have a solid number for half the year, and then I have to put in an estimate, which is what that $8,500 is. So the $251,110 is for our current employees, the level of insurance that they have at the current price, and it also covers the HRA, and it covers for our employees who opt out of insurance coverage. We pay them a stipend of $2,600. So that's all included in that $251,110. The $8,500 is just an estimate for whatever the increase would be for the final 6 months of the year. So the 251, 110 is 12 months. Only 6 of it is guaranteed, and then the 8,500 for the final 6 months. Life insurance, that we pay for offer a supplemental and a dependent life, but that's paid 100% by the employee. This is just for the annual one time their salary. And we offer that to all full-time employees. That's 3,700. HRA to be set. Oh, I guess I didn't include the HRA in that above number. So HRA, 22,600. That covers $3,000 on all single employees or $6,000 for employees that are either employee spouse, employee children, or just a family plan. Social Security and Medicare is 7.65% of salaries. Retirement, 6.5% of approximately $600,471 in salaries for the employees who opt to participate in that particular insurance plan. We have another insurance plan, which is Maine State Retirement or Maine PERS, which some of our employees are enrolled in, and that obligation is $59,963. It's included in that $98,994. Workers' compensation, $31,495. We offer an employee assistance program, which actually is required because we have employees who, because of MDOT, we have certain employees in Public Works who have to have regular testing for substances, and we are supposed to offer an employee assistance program for them in case somebody should come back with a positive test. We haven't had that happen. The raises, $27,176 is for a 4% COLA for all full and part-time staff, except for officers that are covered under the union contract. And then the new Maine paid family medical leave, that is a 5%, well, not 5%, a 0.5% obligation by the town. The other 0.5% is obligated on the employee. So they're contributing half and we're contributing half. Under operating supplies, we have $1,000 for deductible reserve. What that is in case we should suffer a loss. And of course, there's a deductible on your property and casualty insurance. This will help cover for any kind of deductible. It's very small because we haven't had a lot of major accidents. And contracted services is all for property and casualty insurance. That is kind of a guess number because I never have a solid number on that. They run on a fiscal year just like we do, so they can't give me a good estimate until like June. So I put a little bit of an increase in there every year, look at what we paid last year, and hope that it's enough. Any questions?
Green Low was the TM here. We had been pulled out of MMA for insurances and things. Is there a reason why we haven't gone back to them?
Yes, there is. That reason is money. It's been cheaper for us to stay with Northern Benefits. We look at both plans every year.
Okay.
So this is actually the less expensive option.
Okay, because I noticed, we do the Maine Municipal Property and Insurance, so I was just, for the property, I was just curious.
They also handle our life insurance, our vision and dental insurance as well. But as far as the health insurance goes, so far we've been, like we said, we go out every year and compare the prices, and Northern Benefits has been cheaper.
Okay.
Any other questions before we move on? Hearing none, seeing none. Animal control. Yes, we do need animal control. And so there's no change in this budget. FY '26 proposed budget is $11,225. Any questions? Hearing none, seeing none. Moving on to Fire Rescue Department. Proposed FY '26 budget for Fire Department is $193,053. That's an increase of $10,120. So salaries is $101,571. I have a small increase of the fire station stipend and the deputy chief stipend. And then the usual numbers for training officers, safety officers, firefighters pay at $43,470, duty officer at $72.97, chief officer's admin position at $15,694, stipend for Fred for EMA director at $1,000, $4,000 for rescue chief stipend, and $17,010 for EMS personnel pay. $1,200 for communications, which is for cell phones. Subscriptions, 5555, which is $220 for fire chief's dues, $50 for Androscoggin County Firefighters Association dues, $350 for Maine Federation of Firefighter dues, $710 for I Am Responding app, $100 for rescue state service license, $125 for rescue Tri-County EMS dues, $100 for rescue periodicals, and $3,900 for fire rescue annual software support and license. $500 for office supplies, $15,500 for operating supplies, which includes $6,500 for bunker gear, $1,000 for Class A and B foam, $1,500 for radio pagers, $500 for soap, paper towels, $6,000 for all medical supplies used in service. Excuse me. Repairs, $2,000. Training travel, $6,500, which includes $5,000 for expenses related to a required continuing training for EMTs and travel, $1,500 for required continuing education and training for certification for firefighters, $30,325. Excuse me. $25,000 for any expenses related to care, maintenance, certification, and testing of department. $3,280 for fuel, for diesel, and $2,045 for unleaded gas. Excuse me. $29,902 for contracted services, which includes $4,164 for PSAP fee, $95.38 for dispatching for fire, $8,500 for Poland PSAP fee, $5,000 for extinguisher certifications, airflow testing, etc., $1,200 for volunteer fire rescue blanket accident coverage, and $1,500 for physical and pulmonary exams, medical evaluations, and vaccinations. Even though I'm losing my voice, anybody got any questions? Excuse me. Police Department. There we go. That's a little bit better. Proposed FY '26 budget of the Police Department is $593,474. That's an increase of $39,825. It breaks down this way: $478,535 for salaries, includes the chief, the sergeant, 4 patrol officers, shift differential, clerk, overtime, and stipends for longevity and wellness. $4,800 for other personnel costs for uniforms. $5,040 for communications, $3,600 for cell phones, and $1,440 for air cards. $17,027 for subscriptions listed there. $150 for reference manuals, $250 for Maine Police Chiefs Association, $340 for Vertico manuals. I said that right? Did I say that right? All right. $16,125 for tech support of operating software, $90 for antivirus, $72 for something called FOP Legal Defense subscription, $3,500 for miscellaneous supplies, $5,500 for operating supplies, including $4,300 for ammunition, $200 for DVD surveillance equipment, $600 for portable radio batteries, $400 for evidence collection supplies, $1,000 for miscellaneous repairs, $6,095 for training travel, including $1,300 chief training, $3,000 for the courses for sergeant and patrolman, $1,400 for mileage reimbursement, $395 for mandatory online training, $26,080 for motor vehicle operation, includes $15,000 for fuel, $1,250 for oil changes, $78.30 for tires, $2,000 for other miscellaneous. Next page. Contracted services to the tune of $45,897, including $4,505 for contracted PSAP fee, $22,277 for dispatching, $56,660 for Axon Enterprise Taser Plan, $3,800 for Dirigo safety policy updates, $1,500 for physicals, vaccinations, polygraphs, $81.55 for LensLock. That's the camera program. So all of that totals out at 593,474. Any questions? Paula?
Year two. We just got the 1 year, so we've been through 1 year with them and we're in year 2.
Is it a 5-year contract?
Yes,
Are you happy with them so far?
yes.
Any other questions? Hearing none, seeing none. Moving on. Transfer station. So Norm couldn't be here tonight because he's a little under weather. So we'll tool through here. And if you have questions, we'll do our best. $147,908 is the proposed FY26 budget for the transfer station. That's an increase of $6,956. Includes salaries for the manager, 3 attendants, and a per diem. Other personnel costs, uniform allowance, $800. Operating supplies of $31.50 for water, safety supplies, gravel, at $2,000, $1,000 for safety knives, and $800 for building maintenance, $1,500 for repair to the chipper, compactor, and containers. Training travel, $1,000, $400 for trainings associated with waste handling and recycling, $400 for expenses related to required continuing education, $200 for subscriptions, $1,669 for motor vehicle, which includes $500 for diesel, $169 for unleaded gas, and $1,000 for maintenance to the bulldozer, an upcoming topic over the next couple of years. $73,573 for contracted services, which includes $44,500 for solid waste contract with Mid-Made Waste, $10,000 for groundwater testing, $1,723 for DEP licensing, $1,500 for tire removal, $2,500 for wood and brush removal, $93.50 for waste hauling, $1,500 for freon removal, $1,300 for hazardous waste disposal, and $1,200 for compactor annual service, which is newly minted and approved by our very own town council. Thank you. Any questions on the transfer station budget? Hearing none, seeing none, then we are at the very end, and I'll quickly tool through this, mostly for the people listening on the internet, because we've already reviewed this in great detail. This is our capital improvement and reserve budget, which, if it goes as presented, which would include $40,000 for the municipal complex, $20,000 for assessing, that's for a future revaluation for the town, $20,000 for the newly anointed court actions, $1,500 for computer reserve, $500 for Nancy and Michelle for library office equipment, $15,000 for recreation. Okay. $15,000 for recreation. $200,000 for fire rescue department. And the bulk of that, again, which will be used for the pending purchase of the brand new pumper truck, which is coming March 3rd to the town council for a vote. $50,000 for police department cruiser, $10,000 for police equipment, $100,000 for public works, $1,000 for Spirit of Christmas, $250,000 for roads, sidewalks. Let's hope tomorrow's numbers are even better than this. $2,000 for streetlights, $60,000 for transfer station equipment to save for the bulldozer. And I believe that's $5,000 for landfill closure, which is really our 2-year self-development plan that we got to do. $4,000 for the Head Start building till we figure out what we want to do with it. $2,000 for Homecoming Community Day, and $10,000, a brand new line set aside for the, what should be over these next few years, the upcoming comprehensive planning. And that totals out to $791,000. And then we have the county tax, which is again, just essentially a bill. So we're just the pass through. We collect the money from the taxpayer and give it to the county. So they're increasing their ask from $282,975 to FY '26, $310,485, an increase of $27,510. So that concludes a review of line by line of the budget. Does anybody have any questions?
We have residents wanting to know what happened to the money that we paid to the school district that was then not required for the town to pay.
So what will happen there? As a matter of fact, this morning I was working on, because if things go very well at your March meeting, I will bring you, in theory, the FY '26 warrant. I was working on it today. So the $158,310, I believe that it is, has been set aside in a reserve account. Those monies will be used to offset, in effect, the tax bill on the school assessment for FY '26. So those extra dollars, in effect, that were overcharged for the school bill, if you will, have been set aside and will be placed into service to help pay down the school bill in the next school year. And there's an article on the warrant that lays all of that out with a footnote that I've created to make that so. And so we're trying as hard as we can to make it as much sunshine on the issue as possible and have it see the light of day and have everybody know exactly what those dollars are and where they're going.
I've been asked multiple times has the school district tried to get their own separate vote separate from our June election when we normally
Not
vote?
that I've heard.
Okay.
Any other questions on the proposed FY '26 budget? So then, first off, I thank everybody for showing up tonight. And so this is your think about it moment between now and Monday, February 24th. We will gather back here on Monday, February 24th at 6 p.m. The department heads will not be here. It'll be just Lisa and I. We'll be more than happy to answer any further questions that you have, assuming that you folks, both the budget committee and the council, are ready to move forward on the 24th. Lisa will be prepared to have you guys vote out the budget. She'll record the votes. And then the following Monday, we would hold on March 3rd as a part of the council meeting. We would hold, assuming it works for everybody, we would hold the annual public hearing on the budget, a joint meeting with the budget committee and the council, and present the FY '26 budget officially to the world. And then later in that evening, I will have prepared the FY '26 warrant, as I stated, and ask the council to approve the warrant. What? I'm sorry? Oh, Andrea. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm trying. I'm trying. Long day. Uh, for those that want to know, this is what happens. Andrea is not here tonight because she's at a school board meeting. This happens every year. And so I sat down one-on-one with Andrea a few days ago, just as I did with these guys, to bring them on board and tell them about the process. Andrea had a few questions. I answered them. She does plan on being here on Monday, the 24th. So assuming all good things, the budget committee should have its full committee of 3, at which it has an extra task to elect a chair. Good luck. And then once you have a chair, the chair would be in charge of taking the motions from the budget committee on the articles. Now, again, for you guys, the end result of all of this is on the warrant. At the end of each article, it says, council recommends yes or no, budget committee recommends yes or no. And so if everybody is saying yes, then it'll say budget committee and council recommend yes. Okay. Whatever the votes are, that's what will appear on the warrant, okay? And so you're, as an advisory to the town, the people's filter, as I like to say. So that is your big role in this, is to say if you agree or disagree with something and what that might be, okay? All right, any other further questions? Hearing none, seeing none?
I make a motion.
All right, I think we're there. All right. Thank you, folks. Have a good evening now.